All right, my name is Sergeant Refsland. I'm the virtual recruiter for the state of Iowa. And today we're going to be talking about one of the benefits that the National Guard is able to provide is creating STEM fairs to be able to bring into schools and to be able to showcase there's over 150 different jobs that are available in the Army. Here just in the state of Iowa, we have about 100 different jobs. And it's awesome to be able to come to a school. So many high schoolers have no idea what they want to do. Being able to showcase different things that they could do in the National Guard in order to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their life, or to be able to help them, provide those benefits of being able to pay for their college tuition. But really the question is, what benefit does it have for the school itself? What benefit does it have to the students? And so rather than speak on that, I'd like to invite Mr. Tim Hadley. Sir, if you could introduce yourself and kind of your background. And
absolutely. My name is Tim Hadley. I'm the high school principal for Olwine High School, located in Northeast Iowa. So to give those other maybe administrators or teachers watching, we're a kind of a large 2A, small 3A district, about 100 students per grade level. We serve a 70% free and reduced lunch population, so really challenging demographic. But also we have just amazing kids and staff who go to work every day. Outside of here, I'm also a chaplain in the Iowa Army National Guard. I'm part of the 133 Infantry Battalion, and I just love serving God and country all over the place, whether it's in the building here in Olwine or out on the battlefield somewhere else. So,
outstanding. So, let's talk about have you been a part of one of the STEM fairs that the National Guard's put on?
Yeah, absolutely. I have. I've been to a few of them. And in fact, if you remember, Sergeant, during COVID, we actually had a chance. We did a virtual STEM fair and did, it was like an Iowa tour. We did 10 STEM fairs in 10 days and went all around the entire state. Honestly, don't tell my commander, but probably my favorite time in the military so far has been going around those STEM fairs, because it's just neat to see what happens, like how people do their job. There were jobs I didn't even know existed. There was one female, I remember, she was a librarian in Iowa City, like that was her day job, and then her warrior job in the Guard was communications, and she set up communications link to Korea, and we were talking to people in Korea from Iowa City. You would not expect that from her. She nailed these wires to a tree, and all of a sudden we were talking to somebody in another country. It was just amazing. It was awesome.
Yeah. I think the coolest Guard stories to hear are what people do on the civilian side and what they do in the military. I know a buddy of mine. He deployed with us overseas, and he was getting a job at Blank Children's Hospital as a nurse, and he was given, preferential hiring due to his veteran status, and got the job. He was an outstanding individual, and just an absolute heart for just taking care of people. He had been raised by two parents that were both deaf, and so he had just this empathy just hard baked into him. And it's when you were a medic in the Army, he's like, oh, I wasn't a medic. Oh, what did you do? I carried a machine gun.
Right. Yeah.
Why are you at a children's hospital? Because I like taking care of people. I'm dedicated to helping people out. And it's a weird transition sometimes between what somebody does in uniform and what somebody does on the other side. So
absolutely. No, it's true. That's awesome.
So what different types of what were some of the reactions from kids and being able to see some of the different types of jobs and things?
Yeah, so one of the things, so we actually did bring a STEM fair here last year through Olwine High School, and even in a COVID environment, obviously we had to think through logistics, and the National Guard was amazing to work through in the sense that they actually allowed us to break it up over 2 days. So we had smaller cohorts, smaller groups. Probably the thing that kids were most excited about was playing with a $1 million robot on our gym floor, just rolling it around, and I think they were surprised. Yeah, the Xbox. Yeah, that's the exact one. I think that we use it for EOD, right? I didn't tell them normally we disable bombs with this. They just thought it was cool to pick up a cone. But I think they were impressed by the ease of entry into doing those jobs, right? So you see that and you hear how technical it is and how hard it is. And at the end of the day, it's playing Xbox, right? It's like what you do, but you could do this as a job. And that open career field ideas for students that previously had never thought about that. But everybody wants to be a game designer, right? Like how many do you really know? And I'm not, putting them down. I think there's a market for that. Everybody wants to be a YouTuber or a Twitch sensation or whatever. But at the end of the day, there isn't enough space for all that, but there is space for a person to actually go in and work and do small electronics for a company, or every single business is hiring IT right now. So if you love doing things with your hands and getting in, there's room for you in those spaces. And I think that's what the STEM fair did for us, was open the eyes of folks to actually see what it looks like.
Absolutely. I was going to try to show that video of the robot moving around, but I could not because I don't have the technical skill yet. So
yeah, I think they did a video from when was that a different one? Or we have a video from Owine too. I can send you some time, but it's got the kids playing with it. But yeah, awesome. I also remember they brought in the mannequin, I think, that does life kind of like they can make it breathe, they can make it blink, and kids were freaked out, but then also like super engaged. And I think for anyone who's ever thought about healthcare, I think it was really, I would say the hands-on ability far surpasses anything else I've had the chance to connect students to.
Yeah, and we had Mercy EMS that came out to the facility that we have and saw what kind of training, and they're like, we don't have anything like this.
Yeah.
And I always think it's interesting that with the Guard, especially, I started off on active duty, and I gave up 4 years of my life just figuring out what it was that I wanted to do. I knew within a year that there were other things that I wanted to do, and but I had to still, wait out my time and then be able to start into that piece. But when I got back and looked at going to college, and now I was the old guy at college, and if I would have known, if my school would have allowed those recruiting events in to be able to see what options there are those individuals that are going to go and look at the military, but we're teenagers. We make rash and
sometimes expensive decisions,
uneducated decisions, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's what teachers are there for, right? To be able to help us, guide us in making strong decisions. So
yeah, and I think in some ways we've gone away from the old model of just go to college and spend $200,000. I think we've worked so hard at education. We've finally gotten students to that point where it's not automatic that we're going to go to a 4-year school and spend tons of money. I think we've done a good job there. However, we've almost swung the pendulum too far to where, as you described, we then haven't really maybe exposed or pushed students to find out what they do want to do if they don't want to go to college. Because I even a person who holds 2 master's degrees, I tell students all the time, don't go to college unless it's the door that you can't open. I mean, I believe in education. I think it's a key. However, I don't think it's the only key. There's lots of keys. There's lots of doors, right? But find the door. And I think what happens is we're not taking students to the door. We're not opening it. We're not showing them what's on the other side. And so therefore, they're kind of just sitting in this weird limbo where, they're in mom and dad's basement till they're 25, kind of trying to figure out. And there's something to be said about a little bit of a gap here in some time, but there's also something to be said about passion, pursuance. The thing that I'm finding is if we can connect kids with experiences like this, all of a sudden they come back in the classroom and they start answering their own question of, Mr. Hadley, why is this important? Well, okay, it's important to know math because that guy that hit the buttons on the Xbox controller, somebody designed that and used an algorithm to actually tell the robot what to do. And this is where we start in algebra. And so we can begin to connect. And that's the important part for teachers is they get my teachers all were parts of groups. They all went in, and then the next day their assignment was to somehow link it to something in their classroom. One thing you saw yesterday that links to your classroom, and every teacher came back. Even the Spanish teacher found ways to link it to her classroom and things they had been talking about. So I think that there's tons of value. The other thing that I think is amazing about what the Iowa Army National Guard STEM fairs do is they came right to our high school. They set it up, and you mentioned Mercy. We worked with other community partners, and they're not about just them. It's about how can we meet together. We also then had our industrial arts department there. We set up a robotic lathe, and we were making little wooden coins to hand to kids. We had some CO2 cars from from our science teacher. He was demonstrating alongside of it. We worked with the FFA to put some stuff out. So we had other areas as well. I mean, it was National Guard driven. They helped design all of it. So like really, as administrators are busy, as teachers are busy, or like I don't know if I can order it. They organized it, all of it. We just added to it, and they were great to work with all these partners. And we never left the gym. Like we were all right there in one area. And today I drove a bus. I have my bus driver's license. I drove one of two buses of all of our ninth graders. We had to drive 45 minutes to our local community college. We did a quick tour and we walked around and we saw some things. We didn't get hands on, and it wasn't their fault. It was just the way it's set up. But because we spent 2 hours in a bus, that's 2 hours we could have been hands on. But by the time we finally got there, it was a 1 hour speed date of all these things that maybe you could do, but you couldn't touch any of it because there wasn't time. I mean, here's some cows, they're milking. Okay, we're going to move on. Here's some cars. Well, you can kind of see them, but we're going to move on. And what I loved about what the National Guard brought is they were hands on. Kids had time to get in it. They had intentional activities. Then they stuck around and answered real questions about how do I get there? Where can I go? Even if they weren't interested in the National Guard, it wasn't about that. It was about how do I get to this career? And they had actual experts and people doing it. When we went to college, there were instructors that just kind of have heard about it. They teach it. That's great. But these were actual folks that, this is their job in the National Guard is to be a medic or to whatever. And they've had years and hours of training to it.
Or they're talking about their civilian careers. And that's one of the pieces that, like, everybody that is in the National Guard, usually most of them have a job outside of the military. And so, if you work for a place, like, for example, everybody that you work with is in education. If you wanted to talk to somebody about a different type of job, you would have to go in. Well, you just have to go to drill weekend and then talk to people that are in all different kinds of job career fields. It's like, hey, if I was looking to get into this, what would I do? Or, hey, I'm looking to start a business. I would work with you. I would work with you. No, I would never work with you. And being able to get that networking experience with people from all over the place.
I think you're right. And you mentioned it, at the beginning of our discussion here. You said, you met people who their job didn't necessarily connect. But at the end of the day, it's all broadening who they are and the life experience that they bring. I mean, you and I both know that young people who get into this organization are far and above their peers when they do finally go into college, when they do finally pick careers, because they've got that confidence and they've got a little bit of life experience. They've been places, right? Maybe it's only been Fort Benning, Georgia, but they've been to Georgia. They've conquered that hill. They've done that thing. And now they come in and they have that confidence. And I think that's the other piece that I see in some of our students is they don't get the chance to build the confidence. So you're around confident people, you also become confident. That's what I love about allowing the Army National Guard recruiters in, is just to kind of help build them up and to just kind of get them those slow things and show them. We literally have something called the confidence course. It's what we do.
Right. Have you ever seen the job fair that they have at the patching ceremony?
Yeah, that's awesome.
A lineup of different employers, and it's Veridian Credit Union and Mid-American. Hey, come work for us. Well, do you care what my job is? Nope.
No.
Do you have a uniform on your resume? That looks good to us. Yeah, I'm guessing you know how to show up on time. I'm guessing you know how to work within a structured organizational environment. I'm guessing that you don't have a criminal record, that you're able to pass a drug test. All these amazing things. We'd love to have you come and work for us.
Yeah, we'll pay you 3 rippets and give you 2 hours of sleep. You're good.
Too easy. What about those individuals that have no interest in the military, or they're not even qualified to be in the military? What kind of benefit do they get from being able to see a STEM Fair Expo of robots that in jobs that they would, what kind of benefit are they getting out of it?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, Sergeant. And I think it's the ability to get again hands-on with equipment that we don't have. I mean, our budgets are so constrained in education. I can't afford a $10 robot sometimes, let alone a $1 million one. And the knowledge and expertise, and then also I think every single person in uniform has been through the high school experience. So they're also connecting to people who have navigated high school and life a little bit. And I truly believe that every student needs at least one connecting adult. Whether or not that person ever goes in the National Guard, I don't care. But if you can connect with one of these people who comes in one of these green suits and really cares about you, because that's what I found is that the really great recruiters, and there's a lot of them, come in with an intention to add value to young people, not take. They're not trying to take students. That doesn't help them, right? They want to add value. So I would say even if there's students who have never even thought about the military, STEM fair is a great opportunity for them because one, it's zero cost to the school. Two, scheduling is super easy. Like I said, you're already going to the gym at some point in the day, and then three, just getting them around people who have a variety of experiences. Because the reality is, you can talk about recruiting or not. Everybody's a recruit. If you brought in a regular business, they're recruiting too, right? I mean, they want people to come work for them. Yes, we want people to join the National Guard, but also we just care about people. I mean, we care about our community. It's one of the pillars of the National Guard is to care about the community. That's what separates us, and I say us, the National Guard, from some other branches and some other components, because we're in your community. We want you to, by you being better, it makes me better. By you getting a job, it helps my neighborhood because I live here. You live here. We work here. Our kids go to school here. My kids go to school here. And that's what I think, even if you're not in the military, you benefit because someone is connected. And like you said, I went to drill just this weekend and met an insurance agent, and he's telling me about, I said, I have a kid who wants to job shadow. Can he come job shadow? He said, yeah, absolutely. He lives over in Waterloo. That's 40 minutes from us. I would have never made that connection. But he didn't once ask, what does he want to be in the Guard? Does he want? He didn't ask anything about the kid. He just knew it was somebody. But it's those connections that we have in our community right here that I think make us super valuable. And that's what bringing in that STEM fair. You're not just bringing in STEM activities. That's everywhere. You're bringing in knowledge, experience, and community mindedness, and that's what kids, whether they join or not, benefit from.
Outstanding. That is well, and that. Yeah, that pretty much nails it. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we sign off?
The only thing I would say is that, if your school's out there and you're thinking about this, be very specific in what you want from your recruiting core and what you're asking for in the STEM fair. So know your market, right? So for instance, like I know in my area, welding is a huge need for Olwine. We have 200 welding jobs we can't fill. So I asked them to bring in, a truck with a welding on the back. Anything, and you already know this, Sergeant, but for people listening, anything we do in the civilian world, so like civilian, we say people who aren't wearing Army suits, any job you do, the Army and the National Guard can match it and find a way to demonstrate it to you, and they have a connection to it. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's I want to be a vet, we have dog handlers in the Guard. We have, I want to fly planes. We fly as many aircraft through small drones as anybody out there, right? I want to be a water captain pilot. We have more boats than the Navy. Anything, but ask. You don't know if you don't ask, and ask beyond. Even if it's a weird niche thing that you think we wouldn't have, I guarantee you they can find somebody somewhere that's connected to what that is. Whether in this.
They might not do it in this shoot, but they might.
Right. And that, just like we were saying earlier, it might not. So ask, because, and they can bring some crazy. I asked for some crazy equipment. They brought some just crazy stuff. Some of it I knew about. Some of it, we had a satellite that you could actually look and it was hooked to a drone, and we were looking in a different state somewhere else. Like, it was amazing. Like, there's things that we haven't thought of. So just ask, because they want to help you. They're there to serve you. They work for you, I'm sorry, Sergeant. But you work for the schools.
That's
you
right.
work for the National Guard, but at the end of the day, National Guard works for the schools. And again, that's about, so don't be afraid to ask, get out there and push them, challenge them a little bit. I like stumping them a little bit too. That's what our kids deserve. They deserve the best.
Well, if you are interested in being able to get into contact with me, you have questions about this, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can absolutely go to guardingiowa.com. Has lots of different ways to be able to get in touch with me. There's also a link, if you're watching this and you're not from Iowa, there is a National Guard recruiter in your area that is absolutely would love to talk to you, and you can get in touch with them with the link at that URL as well. I just want to say, sir, thank you so much for coming in and being able to talk through this with me. And All the best.
Truly my pleasure, man. It's awesome. I love it.
All right. Have a good one.